Okay. So we were talking about different commands, permissions, file permissions, and so on yesterday, right? Today, let's talk about something called shell scripting. What is shell scripting, by the way? Um, See, we were to install any package. What did we do yesterday? Like AM install HTTPD, first install it, then we started this, right? Started the service, then we have copied some files for deployment and so on, right? Let's say you want to do all of them in one go. Like it's not that you write each command, wait for it to complete, then run the next command, right? If you want to write all these Linux commands, if you want to execute all these Linux commands in one go, you can put them in a file and save it with the extension .sh, which indicates it's a shell script. Shell script is nothing but a bunch of Linux commands, right? And this shell script or any Linux command will be executed by some shell program on the server. Initially, it's called shell, like Bourne shell. Actually, that's a shell program. There were different shells available like G shell, K shell, Bourne shell, and so on. Out of them, Bourne shell is the new one, which is called Bash, Born Again shell. Different, let's say, different versions of the shell program. That's it, right? And this shell program starts with a something called shebang line, right? Shebang line is nothing but exclamatory symbol, hash exclamatory, right? And then you denote the shell program path. Shell program is available. We are using Bourne shell, which is called Born Again shell. That's available in this path, bin bash. Okay, and the shebang line is indicated with a hash and exclamatory symbol, right? Hash is called as pound, and exclamatory symbol is called sharp, and hence the name shebang. So just understand this is a shebang line, which indicates, okay, this is the shell script, and that's where you write the script, right? Let me show you a sample script file. You can create your script file as, let's say, sample.sh. And like I said, it starts with a shebang line, hash exclamatory, and the program used to execute this is bin bash. And here any Linux commands like echo, right? And save the file. And also another advantage of this is you can put conditional statements. You can do lot many things with this kind of scripting. And how do you run this? Simply bash on the script. It executes the script. Echo. You may ask me, you can also write it from the CLI. Why do you need it? Like I said, you have multiple commands, or if you have a logic like some conditional statements and all, this script can be helpful, right? That's one way, or else another way to execute the script is it's not having execute permissions. This is where execute permissions will be helpful. Plus X. Now, if you do this, you can see plus X added for all the users like owner, group owner, and also the others. See, it also turned the color. Now, as it is executable, you can run the executable directly this way. Right? Different ways to execute your script. Right? That's a actual concept of shell scripting. Now, let's look into some sample scripting. You may open your script here and do your scripting using Vim editor, or else you can also use your VS Code editor. Like on this Linux machine, how do you use VS Code? You can connect your VS Code editor for remote editing as well. Meaning, launch your VS Code, Control-Shift-P. Connect to the first, open the configuration. Before all of this, you should do one more thing. You should go to the extensions. Okay, there is something like extensions. Here you should install SSH plugin. Extensions are like add-ons or plugins, remote SSH. This should be installed. I have already installed this. Once it is installed, go to the command palette using Control-Shift-P. Open the configuration file. Here also you will be connecting via SSH protocol. Give some host name and the public DNS of the host. Where is the public DNS? When you select the instance, there's a public IP and there's a public DNS. Put the public DNS and the default user is easy to user and the key file path. Actually, that is available in the downloads. This is where this is available. You may put this path or else I'm placing all the keys here. Okay. ABCD key. ABCD. Oh, PEM file. It was looking for PEM file. Okay, we have to provide the PEM file. Let me also copy this PEM file from downloads. You can give the path, this path directly. Anything is fine. Okay. Now this file is ready. And once this is ready, again Control Shift P. This time connect to host. Which host? See here I have given host name is AWS server. So that name you have to select. It launches another window for remote connecting. See here opening remote. It will connect to our EC2 instance. It's asking, are you sure? Okay. It is connected. Now you can open any files. Open the folder, EC2 folder. Okay, do you see here we have created the sample script, right? Great, right? You can modify here. You can also use this terminal. This is your EC2 terminal. Okay, so now I can write my scripting here, which is more convenient. All right, so what I'll say is set up and configure the server. Okay, a sample echo command, and then see we can use variables in shell scripting. What is a variable? Variable is nothing but which is used to store some value. Like if you are new to programming, no worries. Okay, we are not using any programming reference here. Variable is nothing but a container to store some value. Like in mathematics, you might have used, right? Like x equal to 5. X is a variable, correct? It's used to store this value 5. Later on, you will use this x. Similarly, here also, okay, you can define a variable, means you can use a variable. My variable name is file name. You may use variable name as X also, but just it should help me identify what it is, right? So I'm assigning some file name to this, okay, and then printing it using file. How do you refer the variable with a dollar? File name to configure. That's how you refer the variable. Right now, if you want to run this, bash sample. Line 5, command not found. And not found. Using file to configure. Yeah, see, this is again important. We don't need no spacing here. Okay, space is not required after equal to. Set up and configure server. Use the file, and I am referring that variable. How do you refer the variable? Dollar file name. You maybe don't confuse. Okay, don't get confused. What is this file name? It's same as X. Let's suppose I'll use X variable name. Okay, because X means I don't understand what it is. So just giving some meaningful name. Save it and run exercise. So this is how you define a variable and use the variable. Instead of X, to understand what this is, I'm just using the variable as file name. Right? Hope this is clear for everyone. And run the script just as, right? So that's how we can use the variable. Let us use another variable. Let's suppose I'm going to use another variable called config files. Still echoing. Is it so?
Yes,
Yeah.
Preethi.
Yes, Preethi.
Yes.
Yes.
Is it manageable or too louder? Because I just restarted the system. Is it too loud?
No, that's fine. For me, it's fine.
Fine, Preethi.
Please check from your end as well, okay? Whoever having echo, if still the problem persists for everyone and if it is too harsh, I'll try to rejoin or look into something else.
Echo is still there, but it is manageable.
All
Yes,
right.
Preethi.
All right then. Okay, I'm taking another variable called config files. Okay, wherein I'm listing them, like listing the files of a particular directory, let's say. Okay, like ls config. I want to list the files of this folder. And how do you refer it? Dollar ls config, right? So that it will list the or everything from the config file and will assign it to the config files. And also I would like to print this as echo contents of config folder. Okay, is the values we were taking into this, right? That's all. Now if you run this bash, yeah, it was showing cannot access config, means it's not finding this folder because here the folder config should be available, isn't it? So it is showing me the error saying that no such file or directory. So now what I want to do is, let's suppose I want to create the directory and print this. Okay, what I'll do before this, mkdir config. Okay, create a directory. Now if you run this, yeah, see it is showing us now contents of config. It's not giving me this error, no such file or directory exists. It is there, but there is nothing inside, which is fine. What if I rerun this? It is giving me error, cannot create this directory, isn't it? Because first time it works, second time it's not, right? See, whenever we create some script, it should be reliable and reusable. Means it should work always. It's not that it will work first time, second time onwards it will not. If that's the case, no point of using the script, right? You can do manually. The point of scripting is reusable. You can use this multiple times. You can automate the things. So I want to use the same script even for the first time or always, right? Now I would like to put a condition here and create the directory if it's not there. If it is there, don't create, right? Like just print the files. So for that, we have something called conditional statements, if condition, right? Minus d is called the file parameter. If minus d means if this directory exists, if this is true, then what you have to do, print like reading the contents of the directory, right? And then config files, okay, dollar less config, right? So then only print this. Else, if it is not there, means if that returns true, then create the directory, right? Understood? Here also print it like if it is not there, it comes to see only either this is called if else statements, either if or else will execute, not the both. Right? Either it will go to if block or else block. If it is not there, then create a directory. Okay, then again print the contents. And if condition, if block will be closed with a reverse of if, which is F5. Check this everyone. Understood? Right? So I'm repeating, if minus d means it will check if this directory exists. If it is true, then it will go here. It will read the contents and taking the values of it. And if it is false, it's creating a directory, again taking the contents of it, and it will print here. Clear everyone? Understood? Just F5, which is the closing statement for if, the reverse of if. Now if you run this, see contents of this, right? What it is saying, reading the contents. Because the folder is already there, it went here and it was trying to print the contents. Right? Now let's suppose I'll try with a new folder. Let's a new config directory if it is there. Cannot create the directory config somewhere else. Yeah, see this one. This one also should be new config, right? Let me run. What is this? Cannot create directory where? Oh, see here. It's already there. Right? Now it's saying using the file content and everything is working fine. It went to which path if block. Is it available? -d new config. Reading the contents. Sorry, it's coming to else block because the folder is not there. Right? Following everyone, it came to this block. Here actually I might have written creating the directory. Okay. Let's say news config. Some change I just want to make. Okay, now news config is the folder. Is it there? It's not there. So if to which block will it go? Else block, right? See, it went to the else block, creating the directory. Then it might have created a directory. See, right? Also, news config, each time we were using replacing everywhere. Can't we take this also into another variable as folder name or directory name, right? If you change here, it should change everywhere else, right? Folder name is, let's say, my directory, right? Now I'll replace this throughout. Instead of news config, let me use replace. I would like to replace it as folder name, correct? All the places. Good. Yeah. Yes. So whatever folder name you pass, it should create that folder and also do this. Also, let me do one more thing. After creating this, let me create some files inside this folder. Yeah, folder name. This is the advantage of VS Code Editor. It will help us with this auto completion. Folder name, let's say I just want to create file2.txt. Right now, let's see. Do we have this folder by name my directory? Yeah. Let me remove everything else. Config. Let me clean up. And only you have this. Now, if I run this, where does it go? If block or else block?
Else block.
Else block, because we don't have this directory. It will create the directory, it will create a file, and it will get the contents, and it will print the contents. Right, see here, it went into this block, it skipped the if block, it went into else block, creating the directory, using the file, this is the one, and then contents is file2, right? Meaning, yes, it has created, and if you go there, you have file2. All of them is done through scripting, simple file navigation also, through conditional statement. So that this script is now reliable, robust, you can use it any number of times anywhere. Correct? Even though the folder is present or not, it will work fine. So that's how you can use variables and if conditional statements. These are called file parameters. Right? There were so many other file parameters. You don't need to memorize all of them. They were all available here. These references, these blocks are also given in the drive for you to see. So many file operators, no one will memorize them, not required as well. But depending on your requirement, you can use. I'm using -d. Check if file is a directory. If yes, then the condition becomes true. Right? This is how you have to use. That's what I used. Similarly, if you want to check anything else, if it has a user ID or else a lot many things are there. If the file is named pipe, something like that, right? And some conditional statements like we did. Some examples, the output, you can also practice it. Here, this is a good reference for Linux. Lot of things were there here. Yeah, daily you can spend some time if you are interested. VI editor usage is there. So many things were. All right. So that's about using these parameters. And let's look into something interesting. You can also use if-else if statements, meaning, let's say I'll have another variable called user group. User group is, let's say, some X. Okay. Now, depending on the user group, you want to set a condition. You can do that. User group. If this is equal to some value like admin, it should assign some task. Then let's say administer the server. We'll have admin permissions kind of, right? L if means if you have multiple statements, we do this. Let's say if username is Tom, then you'll have configurations permissions, let's say. Configurations, right? Else. If anything else, anyone else other than Tom and admin, they have no permissions. Right? And it will be closed with F5. What if I run this as it is? What it should print? To which block will it go? Yeah, no permissions on the side because it is something like X. Let's say it's a Tom. Right? It's configure the server. And by the way, is it case sensitive? Let's check. Right? It's case sensitive. This Tom is not same as this Tom. Right?
Preethi, where you have written that hash exclamatory bean bash?
Static line.
Okay.
So here I am passing this variable 1, 2, 3, right? I have 3 variables. Suppose you want to pass these variables when you call the script. Okay, you can also do that. How to do that? Bash, file name, and the values you can pass here. Like, let's say one more thing. Yeah, these are called positional parameters. Here what I'll do is $1 means whenever you're calling script, the first value you assign, you pass will be assigned to this. Let's say Jim. See, no permissions on server because it's Jim. Let's suppose admin. Okay, that's a positional parameter. See, admin the server. It went into this block. Following everyone, these are called positional parameters. Similarly, folder name also I will pass every time, like each time a different folder name. So let's say I get $. Now my folder name is, let's say, new folder. Do you see that? Creating the directory, using the config file, and also this. Also, let's say I want to pass this file name each time it's not a file too. You can also parameterize. Understood this positional parameters, we are going to use this positional parameters thing in our CI/CD when we call some external shell scripts. Right? Let's say what happens if I send it in a reverse way? let's say I'm passing new as a username. New means first one. First one will be assigned here, correct? User group. Second one is, let's say, team. See, creating the directory means because team is a second one. Second one is assigned to the team is created as a folder because that is assigned to folder name. Making sense, everyone? Positional parameters understood? Here $1 means the one you are passing first value will be assigned here. $2 means second value will be assigned to this folder. Any questions?
If -d dollar folder name, what is -d is used for?
May I know who is this?
Utkarsh?
Have you just joined?
No.
So what is dollar name? Anyone can answer this? What is -d?
Directory. We are
Just
searching for
variable.
directory.
To check if a directory is already existing or not. If
Okay.
condition.
I have explained this. This is called a file parameter. It will check if folder is present or not. I have shown this reference as well. That's called after restart. File parameter. Okay, it will check if folder is present or not. Any more queries? Okay, this is how you can use positional parameters, and we'll be using different things as we go by, as per the context and the scenario, we'll be using them as well, right? And suppose you want to pass something through the user input. Yeah, that is also possible. Let me add here. Reading user input. And let's say it is possible to read command -p. You can put the input here. Please enter your name. Okay. I want to display this way. Whatever you want to display, this is how it is. And I'm taking that into some variable. If you want, even you can change this. Thanks for your password. Right? Now, I'm inserting. So first directory is, let's say, new. Second one is admin. Okay, see here, this is all fine. Now please enter your name. This is the display part. Now you can enter your name. And thanks for your password, or thanks for your name, actually it should be. Thanks for your name. Right? That's the user input. If you want to see all the number of parameters also, like what are all the parameters are there, we can do that. Of course, this is just for our reference. Number of params will be defined with hash, $hash. Okay, now yeah, number of parameters are. This is a simple shell scripting which you can do some hands-on. Actual scripts we will be using is a scenario. Let me explain your context. We are going to create a pipeline this way. Like, let's say there is some source code, developers write the code. Now you pull the code and compile it through the pipeline, run some test cases through the pipeline, and then deploy it to some server like EC2 instance. Now, if you want to deploy your application on the server, that server should have Java installed, it should have Maven, it should have Git, and so on, right? So how do you install all these tools? That's where we'll write some shell scripting. This shell script will clone the repository using git clone. It will install some packages using yum and so on. This is how we are going to use this shell script. Also, in this process, let's say we were also building a Docker image. We may have to pass some variables to build a Docker image, like image name and all. So that's where you will pass this. You will use this positional parameters. We'll use this positional parameters a lot, right? Your pipeline may be having Ansible. In the Ansible, if you want to use the password or any username kind of, or else access key, secret keys, that's how we can pass it. Right? In the pipeline, we'll be calling some external scripts as such. Docker. In your Docker or in your Jenkins, you can find some scripts. This is a sample script. This is some reference, right? What I'm talking about. Like on the server, we need certain things, Git, Maven, and Java, and we were cloning the repository. So when you clone, like that's an application name address book, you are checking if the directory is present. If not, okay, if this is not present, we are cloning it. For the first time, you clone it, right? Next time onwards, if you just want to have, like if it is already there, you're just pulling it. And whichever branch you need. And then running the some build commands. This is a some sample script. We were using one of the scripts in the pipeline. As such, we were using many other scripts as we go by. This is where only Jenkins and Git integration. When it comes to Docker, the script will be different, totally different. Makes sense. This is some reference for you, how we are going to use it. But how do you call this from the pipeline? That is all the different story. Right, this is what I'm showing. This is some older scripts. Similarly, if you go for Ansible, you might be using something else in the Ansible. Okay, this is another example of shell scripting we are using, which is installing Ansible, Python, boto3 libraries, passing access key, secret key. These are the positional parameters. Can you all see that? Anyway, we will learn them. Just I'm showing you. This is how we were using them in our pipelines to install some packages or to provide some permissions. Right? This is in the Ansible pipeline. And in Terraform also we were using something, the web server. These are all the different pipelines we are going to build. Yeah, also it's similar one. Yeah. This is all shell scripting. Of course, a Groovy and basically a shell commands. Alright, anyway, we'll go them step by step just for your reference. Just ignore it and concentrate on it. So these are some sample script. Do some hands-on and we can take it up from here in the next class. But we have one more concept of SSH. Shall we go through that? Good to go?
Preethi, just one clarification that sample.ssh, can you open that one?
Hmm.
The number of params you mentioned, right? $hash dollar something, dollar hash. Is it taking it is referring to the variable number of variables or what is it?
Number of variables.
Okay.
Actually, number of parameters we are passing, not the variables, the ones you are passing. These 1, 2.
Okay. But we define three variables right here in this script.
That's what it was showing, whatever we are passing. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. These it's showing, whatever we are passing.
Okay. What are the parameters we are passing? It is showing.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, now that we understood this basic shell scripting, this is just sample. We'll be using them in our pipeline where we'll look into that. Let me give you some idea on something called SSH. What is this SSH? Secure shell, right? Secure shell is a protocol with which you can connect to a remote server, with which you can copy some files to remote and all. The basic concept is this SSH connection you can establish using text-based or key-based. Text-based means you put some username and password, right? Like password-based, let's say. And the other one is key-based. Password-based is more vulnerable for thefts and attacks, right? But whereas key-based is more secure. Key-based means it will generate a key using a different algorithms like RSA algorithm. Key is very difficult to store or memorize, right? So key-based is always preferred. And how this works is, let's suppose this is my laptop and this is a remote server I want to connect, right? This is remote server and this is my local machine which is called client. Now I want to open a connection from here. So what I'll do, I'll generate a key pair. What are the commands? How do you generate? We'll discuss that later. Okay, SH keygen. It will generate a key pair means it's a combination or it's a like a pair, private key and public key. Okay, now to whichever machine you want to connect, you will copy this public key. And the matching private key is available here means I can open a connection from my laptop. Let's suppose there is another remote machine. To this also I want to connect. Again, you can copy the same public key here and the matching private key is available on my laptop. You can connect from here. But of course, we'll generate a separate key pair for each machine. Actually, this is the whole concept. Means public key is like a lock. When you are going out, you put a lock to your home, right? And you'll have your key. So private key is like a key. Okay, public key is like a lock. This is your key. Okay, private key is like a key. This is like a lock. Right? Something like this. Yeah. Public key is like a lock. Right? You put the public key on whatever remote machines you want to connect, and if you're having the private key means you can connect to them. Right? Let's suppose I have one more laptop at my home. From here also I want to connect. Then what you have to have? You should have that private key here. Already they're having some public key. If you have the matching private key, from here also you can connect. Am I correct? Simple, that's all. But there will be a lot of confusion around this topic, but this is the simple thing. Generally, what we do, we don't share this private key. Okay, private key will be unique. It should not be shared with others. Rather, what you will do, if you want to connect from here, generate another key pair, okay, and store that particular public key here. Copy that public key. Corresponding private key, if you have, you can also connect to this. This is the simple concept of SSH, right? The same thing is done when you connect your AWS also, but it is done in a different way. How different it is, let's see. This is your laptop. Okay, this is your AWS instance. This is like a remote machine, right? And this is your local. So what you should do, you should generate a key pair, put the public key, put the private key here, keep the public key here, correct? That's what you should do. But the same thing is happening, but in a different way. Means whenever you are creating EC2 instance, it is generating a key pair. Do you remember it will ask, do you want to create a new key pair? Do you all remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is generating a key pair. It is keeping the public key and it is giving you download, it is downloading the PEM file, which is nothing but the private key. It is doing in the reverse, that's all. That is the PEM file we are having here and connecting with this machine. Just a second, please. Hello. Huh? Okay. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, Preethi.
Okay, the screen is gone in blank. But yeah, the same thing is happening, but in a reverse way. Just a second. Whenever we are downloading this PEM file, you from Git bash we are able to connect to it directly, correct? Yeah. So that's a PEM file, which is a private key. Similarly, if you want to connect from Putty will not use PEM file. We are just converting it to different format like PPK. But the concept is same. That's how SSH is used. Till now, we were connecting to instances using this protocol SSH, which is a Linux concept and which is very widely used. SSH protocol is the one which is used. Got it clear? Everyone understood? Any questions?
In case private key is lost, then in that case, if we lose this private key, how to get that one?
We cannot connect. We cannot connect. You can't get that back. That's why private key is very secured one. You should keep it very careful. We will use this SSH concept to connect to our Jenkins remote machines when you want to run jobs on remote machines. And in so many places throughout the course, we'll do that. Okay, we are not doing any hands-on now. We have already connected to our AWS, right? That's the same concept. Okay, so yeah.
Preethi, in AWS, when we launch an instance, we are copying the public IP address, right? So we have a private address as well over there, so we can use it.
Private address is for the AWS instance to connect. Means within AWS, if you want two instances to communicate, we will use private IP. But from outside, you can't connect with private IP. You should use public IP only.
Using like public IP address with the MK, as you said before.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not getting my screen. It is stuck up. Yeah, like we are connecting, right? The same thing we should do. Any more questions? Now that we started these things, like we have come across the shell scripting, the Linux, how to create a Linux instance and all, we shall get started with Jenkins from tomorrow. Right? We shall install Jenkins and we'll start the hands-on with Jenkins. And then the CI/CD pipeline slowly one after that. During this process, we'll also use this SSH connections and so on.
Hi Preethi. So I just shared the error I was getting when I'm connecting to AWS instance from my Git bash in the WhatsApp group I shared.
You have to give S, right? It's asking for S or no. Have you given S there?
Yeah, I've given yes when it says some error. Even
It's not showing any error. You need to give S and send the screenshot again.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any error there. It is just asking for yes and you terminated that.
Yeah, I tried before doing that, but yeah, I just for just sending the screenshot. I did that.
Please share the error.
Okay. Yeah, I need to restart the AWS instance, the EC2 instance. So I think it will take time. So yeah, I'll reply in the group.
Sure.
With the
Yeah. Okay. All right then.
Thanks, Preethi.
All right then. We'll continue from here tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a good day.